Nigeria's political space is changing. For the first time, more young people are stepping into real decision-making roles. The shift follows a wave of youth political engagement. Young lawmakers and officials are now pushing a tech-driven agenda, focusing on digital jobs, the creative economy, and transparent governance. Analysts say their presence is reshaping conversations in Abuja and across the land. With most Nigerians under 30, youth voices are seen as vital on issues like education, employment, and climate change. But challenges remain. Political godfathers still hold influence, funding is scarce for independent young candidates, and there are fears of tokenism. Still, experts agree youth inclusion is no longer optional, it's a necessity. With elections approaching, Nigerians will be watching to see if this trend gathers more momentum. Chairman, National Youth Council of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter Adigun Ibrahim, joins us now for a conversation about the impact of youth inclusion in governance. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Good. So, since the Not Too Young to Run bill was initiated during the previous administration, how has it impacted the elections, or rather the inclusion of the youth in governance recently?
Thank you so much for having me once again. Firstly is that if you take a look at youth inclusion from top to bottom, we observe that there's been a progressive increase, but the progressive increase has not been so encouraging, so to speak. The last local government elections that was done in Lagos State, out of the 57 local government chairmen that emerged, relatively young people between the age of 18 to like 40, 45, relatively. That's why I said relatively. About 15 of them emerged, which is not so good. If you look at the age of young persons, according to the Nigerian Youth Policy and Lagos Youth Policy, you observe that is 18 to 35. So if you look at comparing, taking that numerics, taking that data, putting it into the number of young people that have emerged as local government chairman, which is the government that is closest to the people.
Indeed.
You can only say maybe you have 2 or 3 persons that have emerged across party lines. Of course, are we there yet? No, I don't think we are there. I think the reality for our people is not yet clear to them that they have to key into the world agenda of ensuring that we have to be intentional about getting young people, the actual young people, 18 to 35. If you look at our population as a nation, we have a very youthful population, people between 18 to 35 to be about 60% of our entire population. Lagos, of course, being the economic capital of our nation, must lead in front to ensure and drive with high level of intentionality. Our governor, of course, we have seen with different appointments that he has done with senior special assistant. The Honorable Commissioner was a youth, is a youth. He was appointed as a youth from his first term, and up until now is still a youth. For the first time, we have a minister for youth that is actually a youth in Nigeria. So all these efforts are commendable, but that is not where we are actually supposed to be. So for young people to have high level of confidence in the electoral process, in the governance system of our nation, we need to include them. We need to include them aggressively. I'm talking about not including people from like 45 to 50 and you say you have included young people. So I'm saying include people from the late 20s and the early 30s. With that, we are building a system that allows for us to have future for our nation. So when, for example, a president leaves, it will be so good for us to have a youth who has grown through the ladder. Imagine someone 20 years old emerge as, 25 years old emerge as local government chairman. The person spent 8 years, for example, as a local government chairman. At that, the person now emerge as member House of Representatives or a senator. The person still have a longer period of age to also vie for the presidency position. And so for us at Youth Council as the official mouthpiece for the entire youth in our state, our advocacy has always been through ensuring that young people are inclusive in governance, not only to be voted for as politicians, but must also be appointed into critical sectors within our space, because we have them doing fantastically well within our country.
Okay, right. I was going to come to that because I wanted to get a I wanted you to clarify if your definition of youth inclusion is just about them getting into political offices, but I think you just clarified that. Now, what would you think, or what do you think is the major barrier, especially in getting this inclusion of the youth in the political landscape of Nigeria?
So I think we can take it in two ways. The first one I can say youth phobia. A lot of people listen to most of us most of the Gen Zs of what they say nowadays, that let us wipe the older people away from the system. But that's not the true intentionality of every young person that wants to be in the governance space, that wants to be in the political space. They want to grow, they want to learn, they want to adapt, they want to build, they want to be part of the process. So I think a lot of people believe that when young people get into power, they are not going to be respectful of the political culture. Let me say culture, the political culture. You know, there's a political culture everywhere. The way the political culture is in Lagos is different from the way the political culture is in Kaduna, for example. So a lot of phobia. I think there's no need for people in power to have that phobia for young people to. And another one is the fear of the fact that, the fear of the unknown, that maybe when they get into power, maybe they will not be able to perform. But if you don't give a person an opportunity to fail, there's no way you can simulate the level of failure of that person. So you need to first give that person opportunity to make mistakes. Then our leaders, our elders are there to, of course, guide us. There's a popular saying in Yoruba that if there is no yesterday, there cannot be today, and if there's no today, there cannot be tomorrow. And I always say that there's also an adage that says that there's no way a young person can have so many clothes. You can't have the amount of racks that the elderly ones have. So we believe that the elders, the leaders, the older generation have a place in the whole process of ensuring that we drive home the Nigerian of our dream. But for us to achieve that again, we need to bring aboard young, energetic, minded people, because we have that relative advantage in our country. We have them. About 60% of young people in this country, and we are not engaging them aggressively.
All right. Very good, Adigun. I'm glad you mentioned that youth inclusivity has to be intentional. But then again, you have to take into consideration that there has to be that desire to serve the people, and not just because, your peers are asking for it, or, what have you. So look at this scenario. When politicians who have governed for decades start positioning their children in public office, and we've seen that happening several times. So how does that encourage inclusivity by merit? In that regard, you mentioned the issue of political culture. All these are intertwined, and we're seeing all of this happening. So where you're supposed to have someone who is qualified and is youthful, he's not there. Somebody is always positioning from behind.
Okay, so there is this, I think it's a French proverb. So it says power is not served a la carte. I'm not sure from which culture. So for us as young people, in fact, before I emerged as the chairman of the youth council in the state, I had to traverse the entire 57 local government and local council development areas in Lagos to search for it, to grab it, to look for it, to lobby for it, to ensure that I show my people, my constituents, people within my community that I actually want that power, and I want to serve. And I was preaching to them that this is what I'm going to do from day one, day two, day three. So for every young person, you need to understand that power is not served a la carte. If you are going to emerge as a councillor, for example, you must work for it. And I don't want to agree with the sentiments that sons and daughters of political bigwigs do not also deserve to be in public spaces.
No one is arguing that.
Okay.
But you have scenarios where there are other candidates that could have been in that position. But unfortunately, because of that legacy or from the tradition that they've had of that family, that political family, as it were, they get an easier reign than somebody who has to push, who has to work hard to get it.
So the reality is, it is also good for you as a person to build your name, to build your legacy, to build all of those things. Yeah. So when you build that, of course, your own son, your daughter can also leverage on that. It's everywhere in the world. However, anywhere you have one person whose father is, who is leveraging on the influence or the name of the father or the mother, for example, and you have another person on the other hand who has competence, capacity to deliver. I'm a practical example of this. I ran my election with a very huge politically influential person in the state, and I won on the back of my competence, character, and my capability to deliver. So I do not want to also, that's why I say I don't want to agree that in all cases it happens. So sometimes there's always a backroom politicking that goes within the space. You also, at those back doors, you have to show people that you have that number. You have that numerics to compete at the highest level. So if you are going to knock off the son of a political bigwigs, then you must say that, yes, I have that character, I have that capacity to hold that position. So that's what I believe.
Indeed.
All right. I think on that note, we'll have to end the conversation. But thank you very much for your contribution and also the advocacy to get more youth involved in politics in Nigeria. We've been speaking with Chairman, National Youth Council of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter, Adigun Ibrahim.